Let's talk about jump points. Jump points, a little basic starter. Jump points are a hyper-stable wormhole that appear between two, I don't know why I changed the camera, just go with it, two massive neighboring gravity wells, such as those of stars, black holes, etc. That's to say you actually can have jump points that lead to somewhere without a star. There are a couple in the lore. They allow for near instantaneous travel between the two linked gravity wells through a jump tunnel that links the two entrances. Jump points are a natural phenomenon. Without jump points, intersystem travel would be close to impossible even at 0.2 c. That's 0.2, 20% the speed of light, achievable with quantum drives. So, a couple important parts already with that introduction to jump points. First is, they are naturally occurring phenomenon. You'll notice that a lot of these older concepts of jump points that we look at and see will have these gates. We're going to look at actually the first in-engine jump point here soon, and you'll see there's a gate. This was something that was originally part of the lore because these gates were meant to stabilize jump points as they are naturally unstable in some states. Unstable in some states. Unstable states and states. The problem is everybody assumed because of that jump points were created by humans. And you know us. We're not that fucking smart. We can't do that. So they just decided to remove all jump point gates in order to emphasize the fact that they are naturally occurring. That bums me out because I think that they're pretty cool. And you could still build them into the lore, right? You could say that jump points without the gates aren't very stable, and maybe they are a little bit more likely to disappear. That would then be an opportunity for exploration. You have to re-find jump points, or maybe, I don't know, find new ones that have appeared. The other thing that was mentioned there was the near instantaneous travel between two systems. This is a big part of what data runners are supposed to be doing. The idea that you could send communication from one star system to another. Now, many of you may not be as stupid as me, but I thought it would be near instantaneous. Completely forgetting the fact that you are literal light years away from other systems. So, since you can't just send messages light years very easily, it's faster to send messages through jump points. But since you need ships to carry things through jump points, that's where data running comes in order to get that information to other systems to get them updated. So commodity prices, mission alerts, freaking, I don't know, who making breakfast on Tuesday, all those kinds of things are supposed to go with data runners through jump points. And it's a big part of why they mention that, like, hey, it's a shortcut. Would be interesting to know what's blocking them with the cargo update. Could it be blocks? God. Get it? Because cargo boxes are block shaped. Cargo blocks. Who cares if a gate is man-made or not? It's a stupid reason to scrap it. I mean, the people who get paid tens of thousands of dollars every year to write the lore probably care a little bit. No point in creating this whole thing if it's misunderstood, right? The Herald will have a purpose. The Herald will have a purpose. Although the two linked gravity wells are the major participants, gravitational interference due to the presence of a fairly massive substellar object such as a gas giant can radically alter the equation and thus position the entrance points farther from the star. We can see this in action in one of the best star systems in the game. Because, you know, we always like to take a crap on Sol. Terra is a lot like Sol, which is our home, if you didn't know. We actually come from here. Wow. So when you look at Sol, you've got your inner planets here, which is cool. That's great. In the green band, you've got several planets, all of them, except I think Mercury, have been terraformed in some way. And then on the outer rim of the system, suddenly, it gets a lot wider, because you've got planets way further out. These are the reasons that you'll see jump points appear very far away from the inner system. This one's out here, out near Uranus. This one's way freaking out here. I think this is past Pluto. Yeah, this is like, we can't even go out here right now. Except for when we send stuff out there with no stupid meat bags inside. Actually, that's like the whole solar system, huh? Man, compared to this, we really suck at space travel. But you could see how far the jump points appear, right? They get thrown off by the gas giants. Now, if you go to Terra, good old Terra. Where you at? It's over here. Here we go. If you go to Terra, system's kind of similar on the inside. Got 3 or 4 planets sitting here in the green zone and then an asteroid belt, but no other planets formed way out here, right? So there's no huge gravity wells dragging the jump points out. Now, they are a little bit further than the other planets, but there's way more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jump points. And that's because, again, you don't have all those gas giants in the outer rim that are dragging jump points out or making them... Actually, this one is pretty freaking far out. Or making them kind of disintegrate, for lack of a better word, because I don't have better words. Traveling through jump points is not completely safe. Attempting a premature exit of the wormhole could disaggregate the ship immediately. Jump points are also subject to gravitational currents that push the foreign matter towards the exit. However, interspace is not completely empty, and collision with certain macromolecular particles could devastate the ship's shields and result in the immediate death of the crew. Jesus. See, that's intense lore. They're like, hey, you guys can jump between systems. It's real cool. Check this out. Our game's really sick, but you can die. They're going to have to... It's going to be interesting to see how they bring this into the game, because the risk needs to match the reward, and that's a lot of risk. A successful voyage through a jump point requires the traveler to surf along the ripples of the interspace tunnel without colliding with the tunnel's walls. Already known jump points have been mapped and can be navigated by the ship's autopilot. That's pretty nice. And also very, very cool part of exploration if they work that in. Saying, you know, making sure that we know jump points are a little bit... They changed... I don't know how they do it. Changing the location of jump points would seriously throw off economics. It would confuse the hell out of people. But for exploration purposes... having to rediscover that would be gold. That's a lot to put the whole game through for the sake of one part of exploration. It is cool though then that you have some that your ship can just navigate you through by default. That does lower the risk quite a bit. And then they said here, known stabilized jump points are marked off with large structures and usually patrolled to ensure that they can be legally and safely traversed. Where is this from? So that's, again, they left the structures in, but not the giant ring, which is kind of annoying. Discovery and reward. This is a bunch about discovering jump points. This is what a lot of people want Star Citizen to be when it comes to exploration. But again, it's a lot to put the whole game through to have jump points be discovered by people or not be discovered because those people aren't finding them. Especially if they start moving jump points and basically disconnecting the jump gate temporarily. What if you get trapped in that star system? What the heck do you do until an explorer finds the jump point? Are they willing to put players through that? There's a lot they could do here, and that's why this stream is all about what we know about jump points, because it's highlighting quite a bit of what we don't know. All right, and what was said about jump points recently in Letter from the Chairman? I'm just getting all the basics out of the way before we get into video and start listening to people talk about this stuff. The first jump point, that's it? Okay. Oh, this is just people going through the first jump point. Now, the thing I couldn't find, which frustrated me, was a 10 from the Chairman on this, because I can't imagine that Chris hasn't talked about jump points in his 10 from the Chairman. There's also a jump point to a system that disappeared and trapped a lot of people. Yeah, the Oratani system. It was actually the first time it had ever happened. So up until this point, imagine this, okay? Imagine we actually get out of the Sol system, like us humans. In the next 100 years, our space program explodes. AI, machine learning, wow, we're so fast now. Cool, we're getting spaceships out of the Sol system through wormholes that we've discovered into other star systems. You move to another star system because opportunity, your family goes there, whatever it might be. Big life-changing move, sure. We've all moved places before. It's a big deal. Doing it to another star system is crazy. Imagine you move there, and you built a life, and you have a house, and all this trade is happening, and all is going well. 12 years in, you just get cut off from the rest of humanity. Like, no communication, no travel, no second chances. Forever, that branch of humanity that you just went into that system with is just cut off. Now, progressing, evolving, discovering things on a completely separate track. That's the story of the Oratani system, and it's terrifying. And that actually happened in the lore before anybody realized it was possible. So the whole of humanity just freaked the hell out. People moved back to Earth. A lot of star systems saw like more colonization if they had more jump points. It just shook everybody. Kind of crazy. And that is around here somewhere. There it is. So if you go and you look at the jump tunnels around the system, you'll see that Oratani has none. Which is, oh, that sucks. I'm so sorry that happened to you. At least they have a nice planet here in the green band. But yeah, it's basically on its own. At least there's a lot of space, 34 AU. You could do some stuff with that. Good luck, folks. Okay. Looks like he gets into some conversation here. Let's listen.
Will it be more or less random for undiscovered systems? Do jump points widen with continuous use over time as trade lanes become established? So I don't think we're going to have the jump point itself dynamically change, but we will definitely have jump points of different sizes. So the one jump point is big enough to take capital ships as well as smaller ships. Another jump point is only big enough for a small light ship. So think of it almost like a mountain pass and what you can fit through it. And so that will kind of make some interesting dynamics because maybe the bigger ship would have to jump around 2 or 3 hops, but a smaller ship can go there in 1 hop because there's this jump point that's pretty unstable and it can only take a sort of small ship from the outside. So we're going to sort of use a little bit of that for some of the interest of the balancing. And obviously the jump points that allow the bigger ships to go through are probably the ones that become more common for trading lanes. So, things like starfarers and stuff can go through them. So I think that'll make a kind of interesting dynamic in sort of trading lanes and what happens out in space. So, but that's still early stages of sort of the development of the persistent universe.
Yeah, I mean, this is besides the idea that features expanded at this time, there was also so much said. And I'm probably a little annoying in how I bring these old things up a lot. But if you compiled all the things that were said around this time, you could probably find some pretty, you could create a pretty big collection of expectations for this game that I wouldn't be able to tell you if would be here anytime soon, There's a lot of little details that are thrown in with these answers that make the features sound more full and more in depth, but most likely wouldn't be included in the features. And that's not to say everything he said is like that, but I do think that it was easy to answer questions saying more than saying less back then. Okay, this is actually interesting. This isn't just about jump points, but a lot of people have questions about exploration. We just talked about it on Feature Watch recently. Let's see what they have to say.
YouTube, who asks, concerning exploration gameplay, what gameplay elements / mechanics can players expect from an explorer's lifestyle? Besides scanning for jump points, asteroid fields, anomalies, and derelicts, what other activities can an explorer do? Well, we sort of, we know that exploring is a big deal for people. So, jump points, obviously, asteroid fields, anomalies, derelicts, they're all sort of things that you would try and find. I mean, we're certainly going to let you, even a known star system has most of the space uncharted. So as an explorer, you could fly around to try and find, whether it's the asteroid field, the anomaly, or the derelicts, and then chart it. And once you've charted areas, you can either share it with your organization / friends, or you could sell it back to the game to create sort of charted maps for that area that people could pre-buy. We are going to definitely have, things like alien artifacts or some ruins on planets that you can go down and discover. So we'll sort of have definitely kind of scavenger hunt style stuff.
Wow, that's crazy. It's almost like we've seen alien artifacts and ruins start to enter the game. People will continue to say that exploration can't be never mind.
Not
Not worth
where
it.
you maybe have a very short kind of like, okay, I find an artifact and I've got to get 2 other pieces of this artifact, and that will give me a key that will open up this other thing that will allow me to get this rare item that would be really valuable. So there's a kind of a fair amount of that sort of stuff. On exploration, we're sort of thinking of having some areas where you can land on a planet and sort of explore around to look for stuff, go down and some ruins or whatever, but have something that feels like it has a little more substance than, for instance, the Mass Effect.
Whoa!
We had the rover going on the outside of the...
Don't take shots at Mass Effect. Don't do it, Chris. Don't do it. All right. Chris has talked a little bit about jump points here, but to be honest, it was less than I wanted to hear. Here is an actual ISC about jump points. This is more about the design of jump points, but this is immediately after they introduced them with gates. In fact, hold on. Let's watch that first. Yeah, let's watch the first use of a jump point.
And this is essentially sort of the infrastructure you occasionally would, you can have around. Some places would have
Tier,
stations.
I don't know what WUWA is, but thank you for the raid. I don't know why YouTube does it the way they do.
But also with this,
Enjoy your
I
breakfast,
guess
though,
with
my
the
friend.
Cloud tech, you see the possibilities of us going in and mining that, and then it affecting your radar, it being booby trapped, all these kind of gameplay possibilities. I feel open up with these unique points of interest.
Do you guys think we should open it?
Yes.
I think we should go.
Yeah.
Let's do it. That's actually a super cool view. See that one? How good that is. That looks awesome.
The frames! Oh my god. It reminds me of Star Citizen.
So going through a wormhole is a little bit like riding the rapids. You don't really have much. You have lateral control,
But it's
little bit
being
of
on a
forward, but you're
current.
being pushed on a current,
Yeah.
and you've got to keep inside the boundaries of the wormhole. And actually, if Sam gets a little close, you'll sort of see interference on his screens. And of course, Stanton's just going away in the background, and Pyro's coming in here.
I swear later on he says something like Pyro was just streamed out or Stanton was
Yeah,
streamed
and
out and
you
Pyro
can
was
see
streamed
there's
in, and I'm like,
actually a
Chris,
current
no,
put in the-
shut up,
in the
don't
wormhole,
say that.
and you sort of see the particles that are giving you the idea where the center line current is. And you have to anticipate to keep on the course, because if you don't, and you go off and you go into the boundaries of the wormhole, you could end up just being spat out in just space in the middle of nowhere, or severely damaged. Go around, Glenn. Okay, so we are now in the Pyro system,
All right.
and we streamed out Stanton as we were traveling, and streamed in Pyro.
Maybe they did. Maybe it wasn't server meshing. Maybe they had them in different object containers, and it was the case. But that was the look at what they wanted it to look like back then. Now, it's changed. They don't have gates anymore. They have gotten rid of the gates. I see people asking in chat. They are gone. Jump gates, they don't want to have them because they don't want people to... Who's freaking calling me? They don't want people to think that these are man-made structures. I don't get that. I don't understand that because that's such a weird... It's such a weird reaction. Because people think a lot of things about this game. And that doesn't make them change the design. I don't know. I'm wondering if there was something else. There, like some other reason. Somebody just changed their mind. Chris was like, I don't like gates anymore. I like points. Make it to point. Because it's a bummer that they're gone. They had some amazing concept art for them too. Hold up. Let's see if I can find it. See if we can do a quick speed search. I saw it. I swear I saw it. So this is the thumbnail for the YouTube one. I love this picture. It shows just how freaking huge these are because this bangle, just to give you an idea of how big this bangle is here, this tiny little ship here getting to the jump point. You see the thrusters on this thing? You can fit an Idris inside there. So like, this ship is huge. And seeing it next to a jump gate like this is like, wow. That's cool. I like that. This also gives that vibe. Now, there are no jump gates on planets, so this doesn't even make sense. I think they literally were doing this for the sake of scale and just to look cool. But it's sick. There was another one too of like a derelict jump gate, but now this is what they have them modeled looking like, and it's a naturally occurring blue blob of destiny that drags you in and takes you to somewhere you don't want to be. I don't know if we'll be able to find the place where they described why that's happening. Okay, here we go. We found it. Here you go. Here's your explanation.
We kind of call it the Swiss cheese approach of the, there's sort of the main entrance that you would go through on Stanton, which would be the sort of guarded, have the infrastructure that you had mentioned, the security and stuff like that, but the possibility that there would be alternate ways to kind of get in to bypass that, so which would be, beneficial knowledge for smugglers or criminals who are trying to, get in under the radar. Yeah. And also it was, if there's a lot of infrastructure around it, it sort of created this impression that that infrastructure was responsible for the jump point. In reality, it's a naturally occurring thing.
So for
interesting balance
for reference,
like, make it seem like
he is the head of the narrative team. So he is one of the minds behind implementing this lore. He has to make sure it matches the gameplay, and it sounds like Chris didn't want people to be confused. I don't know. Let's listen to it again.
Structure around it, it sort of created this impression that that infrastructure was responsible for the jump point. In reality, it's a naturally occurring thing. An interesting balance of like make it seem like this is a checkpoint, but at the same time, it's something that the ships are creating, not the structures.
So before we go too much further into the Pyro system,
so that's also a thing, I guess, is the idea that the structure isn't creating it because it's not. The structure literally doesn't have. That's a good point. So the way that a jump point works is it's not just sitting there in space. You can't just fly into it and teleport. You have to have something that literally interacts with that space, creates the wormhole opening itself. That is basically a tweaked quantum drive in lore. It's a quantum drive with slightly different way of working. And this quantum drive, sorry, that was a terrible shot to pause on. This quantum drive opens the jump point for you. So I understand when he says we want to make sure people understand that the ship is opening that jump point rather than the gate. I feel like there are still ways to do that though.
So before we go too much further into the Pyro system, let's take a deep dive into the op process with Jake Dunlop, and he's going to be taking us through the authoring process for the Stanton and Pyro jump points.
Okay, before we jump into that, I'm going to show you guys what they were saying about jump points back in 2019.
Jump points, the gateways between star systems. These wormholes through space bring with them the promise of Star Citizen's expansion beyond just the Stanton system.
Enjoy dinner, Melismo. Catch you later.
2949, we got to see the first successful traversal between stellar clusters with our arrival in Pyro. Now, from the branching path design to the volumetric cloud tech encompassing it, from the massive gateway structure itself to the particle eddies the player must navigate within, from the lighting to the VFX and more, to celebrate this milestone, we sat down at the desk of Assistant Art Director Jake Gainey for a
Let's get a little to the actual.
Viz was done, I think, back in 2014, 2015. A lot of early and pre-Viz was done, I think, back in...
This shirt! Get me this shirt!
in 2014, 2015. A lot of early concepts went out to Chris. I was working with Marcel on the concept side of things. So we've done a lot of loose investigations first to understand, do we want something big, do we want something that's small, does it fit into the lore of SC? There's several things that you can play with, such as, you know, is it spherical, is it cylindrical, is it square, the very kind of like core shapes that you can kind of play with, and then how that thing would operate, how you'd enter it, what's it look like to the third person as well as the first person. So just to get those ideas
as high as I can put the sound.
And then several iterations for weeks, right? And then we kind of like settled on what you kind of saw in the demo.
So kind of like it's a really good opportunity for me to now show you some of the content live in the editor, maybe run through some of the processes that we went through to build this content, and just speak a little bit about our processes. This is the Stanton location, but it isn't just confined to one area as well. Like the cool thing is that, I don't know if you noticed from the demo, but we arrived at the edge of a nebula. This is all contained in the same scene, so I can zoom out of this location now. And you can see again, this is fully volumetric, so the approach for this is using the gas cloud tech that's been developed. I mean, it's been developed specifically for the coil, but the more that we've developed with it, the more that we've realized that we can actually start to build entire space scenes with it.
You guys catch that? It's those little things that kind of remind you. Now, I know we all followed gas cloud development in Star Citizen back in like 2019 when they were doing planets. And they started them at Lagrange points, which was awesome. I remember getting them in. They were super exciting. But he didn't say, yeah, we were making these for Lagrange points. We were making these for planets. He said these were made for the coil. This was developed for Squadron 42. And then it was used in Star Citizen. I bet that is just, you know, it's those little things that maybe back then when they said it, it was like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Of course they're in the coil. But now when you know how much effort was going into Squadron versus SC, it's like, oh, that's another one of those moments. Okay.
The persistent universe, obviously, it's less of a linear experience than it is for Squadron 42, because with Squadron 42 we know the exact location that will bring players into these spacescapes, and we'll know how we're going to direct the player into them. When we're building content for the persistent universe, it needs to be a little bit more 360 than that. It needs to be a bit more flexible. So you can see from this gas cloud that we've got here, we can pretty much move it to any position, and we'll still be able to get like a kind of a good feeling from it and a cool vibe. The cool thing is, and something that we've done a lot in Squadron 42 as well, is been able to actually construct these areas with polygons, with the design team, to get exactly what we want represented in the engine. Just to show you a little bit behind the process to building spacescapes like this with this volumetric tech, we do use a little bit of Houdini to kind of generate this content. And I can show you, this is obviously this is a combination of various different elements. We've had a lot of internal tools developed by the kind of the VFX tech.
So he's talking mainly about the clouds around the jump point. Let's look at the tunnel itself.
Of an object container, so we stream this in. The kind of we've had like a this is it's a separate scene. Actually, in the game, it's part of an object container, so we stream this in. The kind of we've had like a new entity built. I don't know a great deal about the entity. The awesome part of this is, as you're traversing through the wormhole, we're actually going into a completely new system. You know, we're not faking anything here. We're actually traveling to a new system, and even myself working on this every single day, that still blows my mind. I'm still kind of completely taken aback by the technology that we're able to kind of bring with this game. We had Ben Parry, who's one of the graphics engineers in the UK. come in and build us a brand new shader.
There's already a shader that the VFX team has used that's mostly for doing kind of like where you would use a particle effect but you don't want to have one. And that's called VFX transparent. So that has a lot of tweakable, slidery kind of things for them to mess around with. So what we actually did was combine that with a more traditional shader that could do lighting and opaque geometry and that kind of thing. And then threw all that in front of Jake, and he picked out which bits he was actually going to use. So then we just deleted out all the bits that we didn't want to use and then started specializing different parts of it to get the kind of details that he wanted out of it.
You just kind of fly through it and you can see some of the kind of variations that we have to the tunnels. And this is all real time in the engine as well. Like we're kind of, again, we're not faking anything here. This is all kind of constructed. And you can see there's lots of kind of cool variations. We built this for the demo. We never actually go down these routes, but conversations that we had with design very early on, with Tobias in design, we were saying, okay, well, we have the capability with the technology that we have to build secondary routes. Do you want them in? And he was like, yeah, cool, put them in. We might not go down them, but we've got them and we can explore them if we need to. So it's good to know that in the future that we'll hopefully have kind of branching paths and the opportunity to go to different locations.
So the idea behind that, from what I've heard, is that basically if you're exploring a jump point, if you're going through it and it's not well mapped, then you might take these secondary routes. But if you're going through a point that's very well mapped, that is traversed a lot, like Terra to Stanton or something, then you're going to be going back and forth. There's going to be a very clear defined path that you would take. It's going to be, you're going to see, you might not see them, but other cargo haulers are going to be going through there. Data runners are going to be going through there. Regular security fleets will be going through there. So like clearly for the more traversed paths, it's expected that this will be an easy process. But as you get more to those less and less traveled jump points, the actual trip through the jump point is supposed to get more and more difficult, I believe. You can see they've modeled these things out
changed this to a spline?
In splines, and we'll probably be able to make them completely different for each jump point. So it's not just like a canned loading screen kind of thing. This is a part of the game. You're going to be playing through this transition between star systems rather than just sitting there and waiting for yourself to get to the new place. Now I'm running a little low on time. We're going to jump to what they are saying about jump points as recently as we have heard, because they actually haven't talked about them too much since this.
Bringing jump points to the verse has been an interesting journey as we've been designing a new element in our game. We've put a lot of time into creating 2 solid examples of different types of jump points you'll eventually see all around the verse, one in Stanton and one in Pyro. We've been continuing to use Houdini as the tool to create these gas clouds. The setup we have for them is a parent gas cloud and a child gas cloud. The parent is mainly used as an establishing shot when you arrive in your ship from quantum travel, while the child is used as the main gameplay environment and is placed inside the parent. The child also has a reasonable scale which keeps your average ship speed in mind. These things aren't nearly the size of real nebula, if you're curious. But by no means are the jump points small. Here's an example of a Pyro jump point next to Microtech. To explain the process a bit more, we create the parent at a large scale, then cut out a small box in the center of it. Inside the small box, we'll gather the volume data from the parent, upres that, and then add details. The details will be different depending on what type of gas cloud you want and if you want to easily fly through it or not. We usually spend time investigating different designs for the gas clouds, but with the Stanton jump point, the work had already been started and used in the 2019 CitizenCon demo. We just had to go through, clean up the Houdini file and get it game ready with a couple of extra tweaks along the way. Some of the tweaks we made to the parent were making it feel like more of a structurally sound rotating disk. This was to make it feel like a safe and well-used jump point. The child gas cloud here was changed more dramatically. It used to have a bunch of dark clouds around it. We felt that it was feeling a little bit too closed in, so we spent time morphing the magnetic lines in the center to create a really interesting horizontal, flowing, relaxing composition to visually show you that Stanton itself is generally a safe place at first glance. The parent gas cloud for Pyro was created with the same process as the Stanton parent, but we changed the shape of the cloud into something more menacing and violent. We wanted the reveal of Pyro to be a clear warning of what you should be expecting throughout the entire system, so we made it very closed in, dense, and very active. We did make it a small challenge to traverse the child, something that won't take too long but should be something to consider when traveling through. Something that helped really quickly create a fun traversal route was creating a white box play area in engine out of solid geometry and flying around it right away. After we were happy with the route,
Looks like you're inside of a giant Tim Burton designed pumpkin.
where we converted it to a volume and combined it with the upresed area of the parent to export that out as the child cloud.
See, now that's better. God, that's beautiful. Oh my God, imagine flying through this.
We wanted to make sure that these systems feel very different from each other. Some ways in which we did this was by the shape of the jump points. As I had mentioned before, Stanton feels very clean, put together, and generally safe with the disc-like form that it has, but Pyro feels like it's more violent, distressed, and this shows in its form. The comparison is shown well in both of the child clouds. In the Stanton child cloud, we have nice long strands of the magnetic waves that encapsulate the jump point that feel harmonious, beautiful, and free, whereas in the Pyro cloud, it shows almost the opposite. The walls feel like they're closing in on you, moving in unpredictable ways, completely unstable. Your ship could enter into a wall and disappear within a second. Lighting also plays a big role in how we feel about these spaces. You can
see pretty clearly here there's no gate anymore. And we all know that, but, you know, there it is.
These are dramatically
different. This is from CitizenCon
areas,
2022.
And tone and lighting is the key to that. So that's a brief look at jump points. They've evolved quite a bit since last time you saw them. Enjoy the rest of the show.
And I don't think we've seen them evolve since then. I believe that is really the most recent look we've gotten at them, and that was almost entirely art-based. Yeah, besides that, not really much. Somebody did ask earlier, can you fall out of jump points mid-journey? You can. You can get pushed out, and somebody will have to come find you, or you repair your ship. I'm not really sure. But like I said, I think they're going to talk a lot more about this over the next quarter, because this is a major 4.0 feature. And 4.0 news is going to be starting this week on ISC. Hope they would announce it here. Just a little bit of talk about how jump points work with server meshing, I guess.
Second solar system. That's really the primary objective.
What a little bit better at planning and anticipating some of the challenges.
The goal of the summit is really to flesh out the steps to get there, with the objective to ship a second solar system. That's really the primary objective.
What do you call a jump point for you? Because we are talking a lot of the low technical stuff.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I would, some of a secondary goal is talking about.
Goodbye. Secondary goal would be talking about the low technical groundwork to enable features like jump point.
Really just that jump points and server meshing are tied together. But yeah, that's it. There is ISC this week, I believe. This is it. This is when it starts. We finally start getting weekly news on 4.0 and beyond. Like, God, it's been a lot to get here. We've seen the idea of 4.0 pushed off so many times, and it's never been real enough to be covered regularly inside Star Citizen. So if we start seeing Inside Star Citizen come out, and over the course of a few weeks we get regular updates on 4.0, at that point I'll say it's more real than it's ever been. And I think at that point we can also start to hopefully have a better idea of what the patch is going to look like. They haven't talked about server meshing in a while, so I don't know what the progress on it is right now, but we'll have updates when they do. We'll see when it comes up. Jump points as well, probably at the same day.